When you give your kid a phone, you're not allowing them access to the world. You're allowing the world access to them. So, again, you need to routinely, daily, if necessary, check in with your kid to see what they're doing online.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. As we round the corner on spring, so many of us are looking ahead to summer months and summer fun. And for many families, this includes a stint at summer camp. Summer camp is a magical rite of passage for many. And there's this saying, living 10 for 2. And that means that summer campers and staff wait 10 months out of the year just to be at camp for 2. So my guest today figured out how to get more of those summer camp days out of his life by combining his knowledge of digital wellness with his experiences as a camp director for over 40 years. In the summer of 2018, he started the world's first clinical summer camp program for teens and adolescents suffering from unhealthy screen time, social media use, and gaming addiction. You may remember him from before. ReSet Summer Camp is a camp for digital detox and life skills. I had the opportunity to visit ReSet Summer Camp in its Santa Barbara location, and I, quite frankly, was ready to stay. His latest project is a book called UnHappy Campers, and we're going to take a deep dive into that. But before we get any further, just welcome back to the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, Michael Jacobus.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm excited to return.
Yay, I'm excited you're here. So in case we have listeners that haven't had a chance to go back kind of into the archives or look up our previous conversation or anything else around ReSet Summer Camp, let's do a little bit of background building first. And can you tell us, can you just tell us what ReSet Summer Camp is and why you created it?
Sure, absolutely. ReSet Summer Camp is, like you said, a digital detox and life skills program for teenagers. It's 4 weeks long. We have 2 licensed therapists on staff 24/7, and it's housed on a university campus. So kids stay in dorms, they have roommates, we have set bedtimes, we have a very strict eating schedule. And it's sort of designed to give kids a feel for what it's going to be like when they go off to college or move out of home and get an apartment with a likely roommate. The sleeping and the eating schedule are 2 of the most critical things that we do. We call them life skills because without proper sleep, you can't really do anything. And obviously, proper nutrition and exercise and everything else we do is super important to, upwardly mobile, healthy living.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of sounds a lot like other summer camps I have known. What do you do specifically to address the digital detox sort of side of things?
Well, unlike the many summer camps that I've worked at in my 40 years, kids who come to this program are not excited to be attending. They feel like they're being punished. Their folks are forcing them to come. They don't want to put down their phones or leave their computers. Typically, the boys who come are more into the video games. The girls who come are more into social media. So they are really stripped bare of their electronics. And, they have very horrible social skills, very horrible in-person, real world relationship skills. They all are looking at their feet. They don't know where to look. And like I said, none of them want to be there. So it actually creates kind of an us against them tribal environment because they're in a roommate, situation with somebody else who doesn't want to be there. So it's actually amazing how good sleep and good nutrition make the anxiety and depression disappear in about a week and a half.
Yeah, I can understand why you need a full 4 weeks to do that. Because you probably spend that first week just like, I mean, like it says, like detoxing off of
Yeah, absolutely. I tell my staff not to plan on getting a lot of sleep the first week, mostly because the kids who come are used to being up till 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and their eating habits are horrible. They're eating Doritos and drinking Gatorade at midnight. So we put them to bed at 9:30 and lights out at 10, and no kid in today's world is ready to go to sleep at that time. But then
Right.
we wake them up at 6:30 to gather at 7 and be at breakfast at 7:30, and they're all sleepy and grumpy at least the first week. And by the second week it's routine, and the third and the fourth week just build upon that, and that's why we called it reset, because we're resetting them to who they were before they got digitally addicted.
Right, right. And it's I think it's interesting you talk about that a lot of the girls come there does seem to be this gender divide where the girls seem to be more heavily engaged in social media and the boys tend to be more heavily engaged with the gaming, and I think streaming hits both, to be very honest with you. But when you pull those devices, I feel like part of the reset is got to be a reset of their identity, because a lot of their identity becomes wrapped up in those online platforms.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I say their social skills are really horrible. They're used to communicating in chat boxes or in Discord windows using emojis and abbreviations, and to actually have to communicate a full sentence to a peer, or much less a counselor or me, the camp director, is really a big challenge.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of them, are they feel bullied or out of place. That's just sort of the generational thing that is consistent these days. And at ReSet, they're all part of the family. That it doesn't
Hmm.
matter how quirky they are, or how weird they are, because we're all weird. So they actually get into kind of a real good group mode, and by the end of camp, they're hugging and exchanging Instagram or cell phone numbers with each other because they don't want to leave, because they've made new real world friends.
Yeah, yeah. So that just kind of brings me back to the last time that you and I got to hang out. We were at this, I mean, gorgeous college campus, and one of your summer camp sessions was underway. And I met your staff, I met campers. Um, Clearly, this was beyond the first week that you talk about, that kind of like storming first week. But I did not see anybody who looked to be unhappy. But the title of your new book is Unhappy Campers. So, what made you choose this title?
Well, I've had that title in my head for quite a few years, actually, and I think it's a play on the happy camper
Hmm.
phrase, because everyone's a happy camper at camp and everything's just fun and rosy and beautiful. And I deal with kids who, like I said, don't want to come. They don't want to participate. They feel punished. They're very unhappy campers when they arrive.
Hmm.
And the book is kind of taken off the transcripts of our online course that we created over the past winter. Um, so it sort of goes hand in hand. We created the online course for parents because we're just a summer camp program. So when I get emails from parents saying, "Hey, when's your next program?" and they're contacting me in October, I have to say July.
Yeah,
Good luck.
yeah.
So
It's a
we
long
created
time.
Yeah, so we created an online program for parents to do at home. Granted, it's more difficult to do it in the home environment than to send your kid to a digital detox. Um, but the result is pretty much the same, because when I have parents ask me if our program is guaranteed, for example, I always laugh and I'll say, absolutely not. I can guarantee to detox your kid because they're going to be with me for a month without their devices. But then we're going to send them home to where the problem originated.
Hmm.
So are you, as the parents, going to take the advice that we send you every week in the emails? Are you going to show up to our parent workshop and participate in the family group therapy? Are you going to enter into a behavioral contract for your child, which we do during the parent workshop? Are you going to review your own habits with technology because you're setting the example? Are you going to change the home environment, get the computers out of the kids' bedrooms, things like that? So, yeah, it's 100% guaranteed if you buy in and you participate and you do what we recommend you do. But just I tell parents all the time, this is not a fix my kid issue. It's
Hmm.
a fix the family dynamic issue. And that's the hurdle that we really struggle to get over with parents.
Right, right. Well, we have to take a little break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about Michael's new book as well as get tips for keeping tech in its lane during summer months and year round. Looking for a phone that provides entry level protection and grows with your child as they age? Healthy Screen Habits has done the legwork for you. TrueMe is the phone you're looking for. Featuring KidSmart OS, different isn't really the right word. Think revolutionary. Your kids can graduate seamlessly from one level of responsibility to the next based on their needs and maturity. TrueMe, spelled TROOMI, is leading the way on devices built for the growing needs of families. Get all of this and an added discount when you use the code HSHabits at checkout. I'm speaking with Michael Jacobus, the internationally recognized author, child development specialist, and camp professional. He has an extensive background in youth and outdoor education, and the combination of all of these things is the foundation for his book, Unhappy Campers: How Technology, Social Media, and Online Gaming Are Creating a Generation of Unhappy, Depressed, and Angry Kids. Whoa. It's kind of I like the title because it digs right into the heart of the problem. And as you were just discussing before the break, you stated that the tech issues most families face are a family dynamic issue, not a fix my kid issue. And can you talk about maybe how that family dynamic comes into play and how systems get set up?
Sure. Two of the first things that we talk to parents about, either in the online course or screening to bring their kid to camp, is are both parents on the same page? Because very often we'll have one parent who sees a real technology addiction issue, and the other parent thinks it's no big deal. And so I have to tell both parents, if one of you thinks it's a big deal, it's a big deal. So you need to get on the same page. And the other thing that we need to address is getting your kid assessed. I
Mm.
would say at least half of the kids who come to our program have very obvious diagnosable conditions, be it ADD, autism, mild Asperger's, whatever it is, and they've never been assessed. They've never seen a therapist. They have no medication. And so that right there creates an uphill battle. And I can't tell you how many times I tell parents it is not a personal failure on your part if your child has a behavioral or a cognitive challenge. Um, what's funny is we don't get a lot of referrals because parents are embarrassed that they had to
Oh.
send their kid to our program in the first place. We get some very wealthy families. We had a very popular Hollywood star. Her kid came to camp last summer. And if
Hmm.
I told you her name, you would know it immediately. But she won't give us a referral because she's too embarrassed that she had this problem in the first place, which is fine. We don't push for referrals and we understand the nature of the program. But I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said that's so weird because everybody has this problem.
For sure.
But the family shame and the family guilt is huge. And when I speak to parents, it's funny. I'll show them, and in my book, there's a picture of the Andrea Gale from the Perfect Storm movie,
Hmm.
and I'll show them the picture of the boat, on a quiet, calm sea, and I'll say, "This is what my parents had to deal with when I was a kid, because I had to go to an arcade and bring quarters and things like that." And then I'll show the final picture of that boat where it's about to be crushed by the tidal wave and go upside down and kill everybody. And I'll say, "This is what today's parents have to deal with." Because the constant 24/7 bombardment, all the notifications, all the in-app purchases, everything that was not around when we were kids is hitting your kids 24/7.
Right.
So the other thing we talk to parents about is non-judgmental communication. Because I will talk to parents, and I get asked to speak about the dangers of social media. So
Right.
I'll go and I'll speak to a parent group for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I'll say, now you can forget everything I said. Because while I've been talking, 6 new platforms have been launched, 8 new games have come out. There is no way a parent in today's world can keep on top of every parental control app, every game, every social media. There's no way you can do it other than clear, non-judgmental communication with your kid. And by that, I mean, if your kid is into video games, sit down and create a character and play the game with them. You might think it's the stupidest thing in the world, but it drives them. So learn
Yeah.
about what it is that drives them.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then you can speak the same language on it as well.
at least a little bit,
Yeah.
and then same thing, typically with daughters who are into social media, ask to see your daughter's social media and just ask to see what she's posting, who's posting on hers, who's commenting, say thank you and walk away and do it again. You don't want to say, oh my God, you posted a picture of yourself wearing that, because A, it's already happened, and B, that's judgmental. If you want to communicate with your teen, you have to meet them where they are, not where you wish they were being.
Oh,
And
that
then
is.
obviously the other thing is we talk about removing technology from the bedroom. And not
Mhm.
just the kid's bedroom, but the parent's bedroom too.
Mhm.
But if your kid is into video gaming, that move that computer to the family room or the kitchen or the dining room, some sort of family public place, not in their bedroom where they can close the door and stay up till 2 in the morning, and then sleep obviously is the most important. We recommend taking the charging cords and the phones and the power cords to the Wi-Fi, anything you have to do to get your kids offline at 10 o'clock at night so they can get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep.
Right, right. And we recommend charging devices in the primary bedroom, bathroom.
Yeah.
It protects your own sleep because you're not kept up by the dings all night, but it also kind of starts a layer, a boundary. Kids are less likely to try to access those charging devices if they have to enter the parent's bedroom to get to
Well,
the
and we have some
bathroom.
parents that will put power strips in the closet of their master bedroom and then put a
Hmm.
padlock on the closet door.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's that extreme.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and some of the parents I talk to say, "Well, my kid will have a tantrum if I turn off the Wi-Fi." And I'll say, "Yeah,
Yeah,
so it will pass." The
right.
kids at camp have tantrums the first week.
Right,
Excuse
right,
me.
right.
And
And
it
it's like,
passes.
yeah, in psychology, they talk about something called the sunset effect, where it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, but it will
But
get better.
I agree. I agree. So, I think in touching on that, so many parents feel baffled and helpless by how quickly their child's temperament can change once kind of devices enter the chat, if you will, once kids are given their own devices. What do you have recommendations on how to navigate? We have this kind of ongoing conflict of parents needing to communicate with their child for, say, after school practices, rehearsal. I mean, pick any Tuesday afternoon, whatever is going on. Do you have any recommendations on how parents set that up while not relying on, say, smart devices?
Well, there's a couple schools of thought on that. I mean, you can go totally low tech. You can get a flip phone, for example, or I think Bark has it. There's a couple companies
Mhm.
that have their own phones that don't do social media. They just do phone calls and text messages. Um, I'm not really a fan of that because we live in a technology universe.
Mhm.
It seems to be better to have open communication with your kid. We recommend turning off all notifications,
Mhm.
unless it's from a live person that you know in the real world, like a text message from mom and dad. But nobody cares if Candy Crush misses you. So I mean, and we had a kid at camp a couple years ago. I think he had 30,000 notifications by the fourth week of camp, and they were all
Wow.
game
Mm.
notifications,
Mhm.
and that's ridiculous. And we would talk to him. What did you do? What did you learn? What new friends did you make? What experiences did you have versus paying attention to these 30,000 notifications? And he made the realization that they were useless and actually turned them off on his phone. So So that's kind of what parents are up against. And one of the reasons I talk about open, non-judgmental communication is these are young adults and they're going to become adults.
Hmm.
So if you want them to be successful uh, adults when they leave home, and you want them to leave home, I ask roomfuls of parents, how many of you want your kid living with you when they're 25? Nobody raises their hand. And at camp, I ask the kids the same thing. Do you want to still live with your parents when you're 25? Nobody raises their hand. And I'll say,
So,
you are on track for just that, unless you get a handle on these screen addictions. So it's really a matter of parents being the parent and being okay to be the parent and not the pal. Their kids will have plenty of friends their whole lives. They only have one set of parents. So it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to have restrictions. It's okay to have punishment. It's okay to have limitations. You're the parent. You need to guide your child into adulthood.
right.
I
No.
heard a great quote the other day. It said, when you give your kid a phone, you're not allowing them access to the world. You're allowing the world access to them.
Hmm.
So again, you need to routinely, daily, if necessary, check in with your kid to see what they're doing online.
Yeah. Yeah. So, speaking of all the notifications and handy apps that are all on our phones, ReSet has an app.
We do.
Can, can you can you talk about what types of things are covered on the app? Like why like I haven't had a chance to explore it. I'm embarrassed to admit, but
No, that's fine. And our app it's funny because we are a digital detox program and here we have an app. But the app is very boring. I tell people straight up, it's a very boring app. It's meant to provide a daily recommendation or suggestion for how teens can live their best life. And it's all things that we cover in camp. It's also recommended for parents, if for no other reason, to start a conversation at the dinner table.
okay.
Um, there's about 8 videos on that app. Everything from how to pump a tank of gas, how to use an ATM, how to fix a flat tire, just life skill things. But that's all it does. It provides a daily notification, and there's a few videos you can watch. There's no communication, there's no chat, there's no sharing, there's nothing interactive about it other than the daily notification.
Excellent. So it sounds like it's one of those we call it like a bridging device where it bridges online life and offline life.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you subscribe to the app and you do the daily recommendations, you'll live a happier life. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure we have listeners from all over, and I'm sure they're leaning forward trying to figure out where ReSet Summer Camp is located and if their child would be a good candidate and all of these things. Can you tell us about locations for summer 2024 and like any other further details in the works?
Yeah. ReSet in the US is in Santa Barbara, California, and that program starts July 7th. In Canada, it's up in Quebec, so it's on the other side of the country, just north of Vermont. And that program starts the following week, so July 14th. But it runs for 4 weeks. We have kids from all over the country. We even get some internationals because it's such a specialized camp. And what's funny is people don't really sign up until this month or the next month
Right.
versus traditional camp where I'm, signing kids up before they leave, this year or for next year. But that's also part of the parental shame and guilt and, how did I let this happen to me kind of thing. Um, and we're a really small program. We max out at 24 campers. We have a 3-to-1 camper to staff ratio, and that's because most of the kids don't want to be there. And we have two licensed therapists on staff, like I said. And group therapy happens 3 days a week. Individual therapy happens every day, but it's much more organic. There's no set schedule. It'll happen when we're sitting on the beach or when we're walking to lunch. Our primary therapist has a therapy dog, and that dog must go for 10 walks a day with 10 different kids. And the individual therapy is obviously very specific to that kid and that kid's issues and whatever's going on in their lives. The group therapy is more general, just to kind of let them know why they're here and what their parents want out of the program and what they want or they could get. The first week is very mild, and we get deeper and deeper as the weeks progress.
Okay. So I have one last question before we go to break, and that is it's cost based because you kind of bridge this line between strictly recreational summer camp and rehab of sorts. Um, I kind of like to talk cost. Does insurance cover any of the cost? And then you did a really great job on your website of breaking down comparisons between what a full-time rehab camp would
Yeah.
cost and
Yeah, the it's funny because we're kind of on the fence between a summer camp and a residential treatment center.
Mhm.
So, we're 78.50 for the 4 weeks. That's $7,850. That covers everything except the transportation of the kid to and from the program, and the parents' accommodations for the family workshop weekend at the end. Because we have parents that choose to stay on campus, and we have parents that choose to stay in a nearby hotel. And I am not a travel agent, so I don't book that stuff. But we do have tuition assistance available. But we don't send that out unless it's requested, and that's after you've been accepted into the program. So it's not an upfront thing. But from in the world of summer camp, we're very expensive. In the world of a residential treatment program, we are by far the cheapest game in town.
Mhm.
So that we kind of have to dance on that fence line too to get parents to understand that we are much more than a summer camp. We are a life skills development program. And it's funny, we didn't expect any kids to return. We're coming into our 7th year, and every year we have one or two kids that want to come back. And it's not because they've gone back to the dark side, it's because their parents appreciated the month off tech and they expressed a desire to help the next batch of campers. So we sort of created a junior staff position without really ever meaning to, because we had returners, which was very surprising to me. I figured, we'd get them detoxed and next year they'd go to horseback riding camp or sailing camp or surf camp or something else.
Mhm.
Didn't expect them to come back.
Oh, well, clearly that's, the proof is in the pudding. So,
Right.
okay, we have to take a short break, but when we come back, I am going to ask Michael Jacobus for his healthy screen habit. Do you know what's happening during your child's online exchanges? As well intentioned as we are, often reading every text message, post, and email is just not realistic. This is where Bark comes in to help. Founded in 2015, Bark Technologies provides a parental control app that monitors and alerts parents to online threats. Bark was created for parents by parents to offer a better, easier, and more effective way to keep children safe online. Bark monitors posts and messagings for things like signs of bullying and communication with dangerous strangers. Bark's algorithms analyze all activity and issue parents notifications via their chosen communication method. Gain peace of mind and get 10% off of Bark service for life by using the Healthy Screen Habits link. Go to our website at healthyscreenhabits.org, click on the Tools button in the drop-down menu, and look for products we endorse to find Bark. It will be the easiest click you make all day. Peace of mind is just a bark away. My guest today is Michael Jacobus, founder of ReSet Summer Camp and author of UnHappy Campers: How Technology, Social Media, and Online Gaming Are Creating a Generation of Unhappy, Depressed, and Angry Kids. So we have a few minutes. And Michael, before I ask you for your healthy screen habit, I want to know, do you have a favorite camp memory, either from your own childhood or as in your adult life? You cracked the code on how to make this a life journey, if you will.
Yeah, I have wonderful memories every summer, since when I was a kid. But my favorite, most recent memory is the group hug at the end of 4 weeks of ReSet during the family workshop, when the kids are saying goodbye for the last time and they don't want to go. To me, that means we've really made an impactful difference. And the parents are sharing their contact informations. We had some parents schedule, a pool party a week after camp for kids who lived in California, because we get kids from all over. And to me, that's the whole purpose of ReSet. So that's my favorite current camp memory.
That's fantastic. So, as you remember from before, on every episode of the Healthy Screen Habits podcast, I ask for a healthy screen habit. And this is a tip or takeaway our listeners can put into place nearly immediately. What's yours?
Yeah, immediately you can put into practice good sleep. And kind of we've already talked about it, but I recommend that you have a family dinner, which you should be having regularly anyway, and even apologize to your kids or your family and say, I really didn't realize how much sleep deprivation deals with, anxiety, depression, low grades, everything that's going on in your home. And I recommend you do this on Wednesday. And so you announce after the apology that as of Sunday, so they got a couple days to get used to it. As of Sunday, we're going to turn in all our phones, all our tablets, all our iPads, all our power cords to computers and the Wi-Fi at 9 o'clock on Sunday night so that we can be asleep by 10 o'clock. And you put all that in the parents' master closet. If you have to lock it, lock it. And then you don't give those things back until the morning and until they're like leaving for school, not at 6 a.m. And the whole goal is to get 8 hours of sleep a night.
Mm-hmm.
And, if every parent would do that, the depression and anxiety would drop by over half, and they wouldn't need to send them to my program.
Right. So your goal is to put yourself out of business.
Yeah, every time I get asked to talk to elementary school parents once in a while. And I'll go and I'll talk and I'll explain who I am and what I do. And then I'll say, please do not create a situation where you need to send your kid to my program.
Yeah.
Because, at the elementary school level, parents have total control over that. But, so many of them, every time I see a kid in a restaurant with a rubber covered iPad, I think future camper, because they're getting addicted at such a young age.
Right. Right. Okay, well, thank you. As always, you can find a complete transcript of this show and a link to all of the resources discussed by visiting the show notes for this episode, including a link to Michael's latest book. Do this by going to healthyscreenhabits.org, click the podcast button, and find this episode. Michael, thank you so much for all that you do. Keeping summer camp a priority, keeping outdoors a priority, and teaching healthy tech handling to keep kids outside and talking.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate the time.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.